Welcome everyone, this is Kerjims channel. Now we are back to our new episodes of 2 Semi-Reality Champions and Comparison, featured by Wild League of Legends versus the Mobile Legend Bang Bang. But before that, please like and subscribe to my channel and don't forget to click the bell icon so you will be notified to our new next episode review. Let's do this!
Braum, according to the lore, got his shield by helping a young troll that was stuck in a vault. The vault doors were made of true ice and were enchanted closed. So Braum decided to punch his way through the top of the mountain and opened the door from the inside. As the mountain crumbled down, he took the door and used it as a shield to save the troll. That caring nature of his really comes across in his Kitten gameplay. But how good was Braum Braum was released during the summer split of Season 4 on May 12, 2014, and was immediately a threat in competitive play. He was released after most of the major support item changes, so he didn't really have to weather the storm of change. The meta for supports at the time revolved around Lulu, Thresh, Braum, and Morgana. He only really lost to Lulu, but Lulu beat everyone at the time, so mostly even matchups across the board. Braum was banned 27 times with 46 picks in North America, 24 times with 31 picks in Europe, 27 times with 32 picks in Korea, and 53 times with 50 picks in China. Braum was usually picked for his fantastic mid-game teamfight potential, but could easily abuse his lane when picked in conjunction with Lucian, a name you're gonna be hearing a lot. Nothing else really to say here, so let's move on to Worlds. The Season 4 World Championship saw Janna, Thresh, Nami, Braum, and Morgana as the top supports. Janna was picked to buff the late game carries of Tristana and Twitch as well as help reset teamfights in the mid and late game. Nami was huge with other lane bullies like Lucian and Corki. Thresh was picked to counter the enchanting supports, and Morgana was picked to counter Thresh. Braum was picked with Lucian as usual, but Thresh was still preferred due to the better matchups against other supports, and the fact that there weren't too many important skill shots. Braum had already had a pretty good run at Worlds, and it was his first of many. And moving on to Season 5, lots of changes happened all around Summoner's Rift, including the Rift itself, but none of these changes actually affected supports themselves. The Spring Split support meta had Janna, Thresh, Morgana, and Annie. Braum was picked very sparingly across all regions, but with Lucian recently nerfed, he lost a huge strength in the duo lane. The Freljordian Muscle Man had nothing to do in the face of the meta supports. He once again had no importance. This persisted through the entire year until Worlds, aka the Juggernaut patch. With Darius being the most popular top laner, as well as the meta shifting towards teamfighting, Braum was once again brought back to the limelight, shared with Alistar, Tahm Kench, and Thresh. Braum's job was to roam when possible, get to mid-game, and start winning fights while kiting Darius. He was also amazing with Kalista, though not quite as good as Alistar or Thresh. While he wasn't fantastic, Braum had at least carved a niche for himself with his strong teamfight and kiting. He was banned 3 times and picked 21 times over the course of the tournament. And in the preseason of Season 6, quite a lot changed, most of it in favor of Braum. The new masteries only helped him, because even though he couldn't take advantage of Thunderlords, his best friend Lucian was back in the meta with an almost as strong fervor of battle. Kalista, Lucian, Corki, and Ezreal fought alongside Braum, Alistar, Thresh, and Trundle in the Spring Split of 2016. Braum was banned 7 times with 35 picks in North America, 9 times with 42 picks in Europe, 3 times with 83 picks in Korea, and 23 times with 125 picks in China. With a new tool in Stoneborn Pact and his old friend Lucian back in the meta, Braum was taking names as one of the best supports in the game. And in the summer split, the strength of ADCs fell as the Sunfire Cape Iceborne Gauntlet build ran rampant through top lane, while catch-up EXP put junglers at level 6 while bot lane was level 4. The ADC meta settled on Lucian, Sivir, Ashe, Jhin, and Ezreal. Lucian was the strongest in lane by far, but Sivir, Ashe, and Jhin had great utility for their team, while Ezreal was just an overall safe pick. Tank supports were still preferred over enchanters, what with the lack of strong late game carries to buff. Braum was, as usual, a strong duo pick with Lucian, but he was outclassed by Alistair when picked with anyone else. He was banned 26 times with 109 picks in North America, 55 times with 78 picks in Europe, 2 times with 91 picks in Korea, and 23 times with a gargantuan 139 picks in China. Braum was fantastic throughout the regular season of 2016. He had enjoyed a full year of spotlight in the meta, but unfortunately for him, some things can't last forever. Because in the Season 6 World Championship, wave clear and teamfighting took over the bot lane. With ADCs like Jhin, Caitlyn, and Sivir, it was getting pretty difficult for Lucian to win them. He still tried, and Braum was right there with him sharing his pain. Braum struggled really hard against lane bullies like Nami and Zyra. Karma wasn't too bad, but the ability to help shove lanes really put her over the edge. But as bad as Braum might have been against ranged poke supports, he made up for it by at least going even against the melee supports that were played, like Alistair and Tahm Kench. The muscular Freljordian did really well in teamfights, but couldn't even come close to comparing to Zyra, who destroyed him at every point in the game, including teamfights. Zyra would go on to be the defining support to be remembered throughout the tournament, only to be surprise countered with misfortune support in the semifinals by Rock's Tigers against SKT. Braum was pretty good in Season 6 World. His excellent teamfighting kept him up in the meta where he otherwise probably should have failed. He wasn't banned a single time in the tournament, but at least he was picked 12 times. Braum had been at least usable through most of his existence, but it was time for him to sit back and take a vacation for a bit, because Season 7 brought quite a few changes for support. While Night Vow was good for Braum, it paled in comparison to the power that Redemption and Locket gave to Enchanters. With the Assassin rework set loose on the Rift, ADCs were forced to adapt by sticking for utility rather than for damage, lest they get one-shot by Rengar or LeBlanc before doing anything useful. Assassins weren't the only source of huge damage though. Support Zyra and Malzahar could easily 1v2 a lane, get picks, or win teamfights. Karma and Lulu took advantage of Redemption Locket, and Thresh did the same while countering them but losing to the mages. Misfortune was still picked, but only as a counter to Zyra. In the face of the poke mages and Redemption users, melee tank supports didn't have any ways of fighting back, and Braum was no exception. With no niche for him to carve, he took a nice relaxing break from the realm of the pro scene. But man oh man, he just couldn't stay away. Not with a scared and helpless ADC calling out to him for help. Because in the summer split, with the Galio and Vanguard reworks, as well as a buff to the Blade of the Ruined King, ADCs weren't helpless picks for utility anymore. Varus, Kalista, and Ashe welcomed the buffs, while others like Tristana, Jhin, and Xayah enjoyed a time where they had frontlines to block for them while they scaled to be the hyper carries that they were. The top supports of the summer split were Thresh, Braum, Karma, Rakan, and Tahm Kench. Braum was doing what he did best, guarding his ADC and being amazing in teamfights. He also laned evenly against Thresh, the strongest support at the time, which was a huge boost. But unfortunately for him, the meta was fast changing as people started picking up an item that defined the coming metagame: Ardent Sensor. Janna and Lulu rose to prominence once again, and with Rakan buffing Xayah to huge heights, there was next to no chance that tank supports could compete. Even Thresh, who traditionally countered Enchanters. And in the Season 7 World Championship, with Ardent meta well underway, it was extremely unlikely that Braum would be picked. But lo and behold, Braum was indeed picked once by SKT in the quarterfinals against Misfits. Misfits had found a way to quote-unquote crack the meta by taking Ardent in a place that wasn't on the support. Misfits would go for kill lanes with champions like Leona and Blitzcrank on the enemy Enchanter, while taking Ivern in the jungle to still have Ardent later. Braum was picked to lane against Alistair and won. He was banned by Misfits the game after, and SKT won the series 3-2. But don't let that fool you. Just because he was picked once doesn't mean he was playable in the standard Ardent metagame. Braum had been at a point where not only was he outclassed by every meta support, he was third choice for the non-meta ones too, and he was still picked at Worlds. Really goes to show how strong Perseverance really is, and it only gets better from here. Because Season 8 brought the Rune rework, and with it, one of the best things that Braum could ask for. Guardian played perfectly into his playstyle, and with Ardent nerfed, Braum was free to take Night Vow and do what he did best. He did it better than any of his competition, whether it be Taric, Tahm Kench, Alistair, Rakan, or Thresh. Braum had great lanes with Kalista, Xayah, Rageblade Varus, and wasn't bad with Ezreal. But the laning phase was more about farming than getting kills thanks to the new Kleptomancy. In the spring split of 2018, Braum was banned 25 times with 53 picks in North America, 26 times with 54 picks in Europe, 75 times with 83 picks in Korea, and 76 times with a disgusting 144 picks in China. With plenty of strong ADCs to peel for and a great new tool to do it with, Braum was having a great time in the spring split. But as summer approached, that would soon change, but not in the way you might think. In patch 8.11, every ADC other than Quinn, Corki, and Kindred had their base stats nerfed pretty hard. This led to mages being played bot lane, while classic ADCs either suffered bot lane against them or were played in funnel tops. Funneling, for those who don't know, is when a hypercarry generally takes smite and has a support follow them around helping with jungle clear and holding waves for the carry to CS. Braum just happened to be the absolute perfect champion to support a funnel with. With utility and peel on every ability, he could function even without any EXP and minimal gold. In competitive play, it was mostly funneling Kai'Sa with Braum, but in solo queue, all sorts of funnels appeared, like Twitch Lulu and Master Yi Karen. In the summer split, Braum was banned 17 times with 50 picks in North America, 21 times with 35 picks in Europe, 21 times with 45 picks in Korea, and 27 times with 60 picks in China. The funnel strat was strong, but also incredibly obnoxious to play against because if you laned normally against it, you would lose. The only way to beat it head-on was with another funnel, and Riot didn't like that a whole lot and removed the ability to funnel effectively in patch 8.14 before Worlds. Braum was still picked with other ADCs and often took unsealed spellbooks. Even without the funnel, he was as good a support as any except for Alistar, who was completely decimating people with the new Aftershock. And moving on to the Season 8 World Championship. The top supports in the meta were Alistar, Rakan, Tahm Kench, Thresh, and Braum. The top ADCs in the meta were Kai'Sa, Xayah, Sivir, and Lucian. Braum matched fairly well with all the strong bot lane picks except for Heimerdinger, who was much better with Alistar or Rakan. In the first half of the tournament, Braum was picked a decent amount, when most teams figured that a late game ADC was the primary win condition. Lucian was picked and was still a monstrous duo able to go toe-to-toe with Xayah Rakan. But as the solo lane meta began to unfold, he was picked less because peeling for the ADC wasn't as important as ganking for the solo laners to get them ahead. Unfortunately, Braum was pretty bad at roaming, especially when compared to Alistar, Rakan, and Tahm Kench. Still, he wasn't completely awful throughout the tournament, and still found play when securing the late game backup Kai'Sa was the win condition. He was banned 6 times and picked 24 over the course of the championship. And that's it! So how good was Braum actually? He was great. His kit supported people almost perfectly, and his teamfight presence was almost as good. Huge synergy with Lucian meant that anytime Lucian was meta, you'd be able to bet that Braum would be too if he wasn't already. In Season 4, he was good. He went even in lane against anyone other than Lulu and proceeded to stomp mid-game teamfights. Lucian being strong was just icing on the cake. Season 5, he wasn't great. He was mediocre in the beginning of the season along with Lucian. He picked up a little bit as Worlds came around, but was outclassed by Thresh, Alistar, and Tahm Kench. Season 6, he was really good. Lucian was back, and Kalista loved to partner with tank support. He was able to keep up with or exceed any support other than Alistar unless he was paired with Lucian. Season 7 was the worst season Braum ever had. Knight's Vow was great and all, but the introduction of Redemption meant that any support that couldn't take advantage of the benefits wasn't going to be played. The only tank support picked was Thresh, and even then only to counter the enchanted supports. Ardent meta was not kind to Braum, but at least he got a pick at Worlds. And finally, Season 8 is the best he's ever been competitively. Guardian is an amazing rune and fits his playstyle perfectly. Lucian wasn't really there to share in his victory, but he laned great with other ADs. Summer Split saw him as the king of support funnels for as long as funnels lasted. He fell off slightly come Worlds, not quite able to keep up with Alistar, Thresh, and Tahm Kench. Thanks for watching everyone, and if you'd like to see more, subscribe to watch the next one when it comes out, and leave a comment to help decide which champion I do next. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Pokemon and Smash. They inspired me to make this video.